Look at this bill that I got. This is a real bill from the Bank of Zimbabwe. $1 billion. I am a billionaire now. Hey, you guys, my name is David Ruff, and we're here today to debunk this myth of stable money. Stable money cannot exist and cannot exist in our current framework. We would have to blow up the entire world to start again. Now, here's the crazy part. Bitcoin will fail. A gold standard cannot function in today's economy either. So we're going to be going into deep dive into this Bitcoin myth, the gold standard myth, and see how we could shape ourselves and how you could take advantage of this to make a lot more money in the future. We've been talking about this idea of stable money for many, many centuries now. And so the idea is that a dollar would be worth a loaf of bread today, and 100 years from now, a dollar would still buy a loaf of bread, for example. Meaning we will not have these price inflations that we're seeing right now, and the cost of something could remain constant. Now, is this a fallacy? We're hearing about this all the time, more recently about Bitcoin, but this is the exercise that I want to give you just for now. Let's draw one house, one human, one Bitcoin. That's all that exists on Earth. One house, one human, one Bitcoin. If we did that, that man has built the house now, and now his home is worth one entire Bitcoin. Now, let's say time goes on, and now there's 2 or 3 or 4 houses. Let's say 4. We'll have 4 houses now with 4 different people that have that. Now, if there was still only one Bitcoin on Earth, every home now would only be worth one Bitcoin divided by 4 homes, a quarter of a Bitcoin each. So after all this time and all this labor and all this effort, now all of a sudden, your home is only worth a quarter of what it was in the beginning. That doesn't work. It does not work. It cannot work. Let's take a look at this. If you type in stable money, it means money with a stable value, an idea behind any gold standard system that gold is stable in value, the most stable thing that can be identified in this world. Now, they're going to talk about that gold being stable, but is gold stable is my question. How much gold is being mined every single year? If you just take that 3,000 tons divided by 190,000 tons, which is what is in existence today, we are mining roughly 1.5%. 1.5% of gold per year. And therein lies the argument. Well, you could always get more gold. You could always mine more gold. You could always find an asteroid. Listen, there's a lot of work involved in getting dynamite and materials and machines and people out there to mine all of this gold. So, yes, we can inflate the supply of gold by 1.5%. But here's the key. Only if the economy didn't grow would you be diluting the gold, right? If the economy grew by 1.5% and we made 1.5% more gold, then the price of gold, the value of gold would stay steady. So there's 2 things that we have to link together: the quantity of money that we're making and how big is the economy. So this is where Bitcoin absolutely would fail. Now, if we look into how many Bitcoin are there, and they're going to come out and tell you that there is 21 million Bitcoin available, 19 have been mined, 19 million, 2 million Bitcoins are left to be mined. So if you have that exact same example again, where we had that one house versus 4 houses, you can't buy a home today and then all the way down the road, you're going to have a quarter of the value of your home. That means every year your pay would be decreasing every single year in a stable money environment as more and more people are joining the workforce and there's more value in the economy. That kind of idea just doesn't work. So going back to a gold standard like we had in the 1800s is a good idea in theory, in practicum, but it's not really in real life that we could do this. Now, what exploded all the technology and everything we had was when we started doing fractional banking. And when we started doing that, then we could loan 9 times the amount of money out that they actually had reserves. So example, the bank would receive $1 million, they'd now be able to lend out $9 million. So we have to remember that they could lend out 9x what they have. That's incredible, right? Which led to a lot of people being able to buy homes, properties, businesses, and develop a lot of stuff. So fractional banking is the reason why we have such a good quality of life right now. But like anything, there's a poison pill that comes with it. So this is our main problem with the dollar. You'll see here that since 1933, the US dollar has lost 92% of its domestic purchasing power. You'll probably have seen this image a lot that's coming up, that it just declined. But since a lot of people will be quoting this number, 92% of its value, remember that is only until 2020, number one, and we printed way more money since 2020, which is another problem. In addition to that, the decline of the US dollar started in 1913 when they opened up the Federal Reserve, and the central banks of the world were doing it around that time. So the percentage of 92 is not really correct. If you included 1933 to today, we're probably at 98% today. Now, remember, this has to keep going, and it has to continue a lot farther. So anybody who's going to be asking, well, how much farther could it possibly go? Guys, it can go a lot farther. Look at this bill that I got. This is a real bill from the Bank of Zimbabwe, $1 billion. I am a billionaire now. I got this. This is worth like $2. That's it. That's all it will buy me. There's that many dollars out in the market. They have $100 billion bill out there. So how high could it go? Very high. Go ask the Japanese. They got to make like 2 million a month just to be able to afford to live. It can go a lot farther is what I'm trying to tell you. So if we open a 100-year historical chart of gold and silver, this goes back to 1915, close enough to when the central bank started in 1913. So if you go back to there, $19 right here to today, if we went and looked at the price, today's price is $19.28. That's 10x, 1,000% return. So it wasn't that gold and silver got any more valuable. The point is that the dollars became more plentiful. This piece of metal, this piece of gold here is the exact same piece of gold back then to today. If we were going to exchange this for loaves of bread back in 1915 versus today, it would buy the same number of loaves of bread. That's why gold keeps its purchasing power, but not the number attached to how many dollars it's going to take. If we jump back onto that chart, you can see that it went up a lot. Let's check out silver. We can see that it went from 50 cents all the way to $23. So what is that? That is 46 times its value. Remember, gold went up 10x. But remember, do you see these lines here at the beginning? This is when the dollars were pegged, meaning the government was going to state that this many ounces of gold will be this valuable against silver, like 15 ounces of silver to 1 ounce of gold. That's the way it is, take it or leave it, where the government had intervention. When we take a look at these charts again, and you see the lines start going wobbly, like jagged all over the place, it kind of started in 1970, just before 1971, when we officially went off the gold standard. But even if you measured from there, if you wanted to, at $1.30, to $19, what are you going to be at? You're still going to be at like 15x or something like that. Same as with gold. If we went back to 1971 when Nixon took us off the gold standard, if we went back to that $36 to today, what does that give you? 35, 40 times its value. So that's interesting, right? That you could have got 4,000% return if you just sat in gold or if you just sat in silver. All right, let's go to the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ actually goes back to 1971, kind of when the gold standard started. If you look on the right-hand side in black, over on this side, on the right-hand side, it'll say 102, something like that, 102,000. If you look on the right up here, it goes up to 567,000. So you would have 6x'd your money if you would have put all your money into the NASDAQ in 1971. This is what my point is. If you would have bought gold and silver, if you would have bought gold, you would have been up, what was it? 10x your money. If you would have bought silver only, you would have made 40 times your money. If you would have put it in the NASDAQ, you would have made 6 times your money. Curious, eh? You could have made a lot more money if you had something tangible like gold and silver. You guys know that I'm a huge fan of gold and silver. Now, this is gold and real silver. But remember, if we have this coin like right here in Canada, it's a $100 coin, as it says right there, $100. But it's going to be $2,500 Canadian paper money. Remember that useless like ink on paper. That's how many, but it will only say $100 on it, right? And that's not the true value. Same as silver. So there's the bullion value, like the weight of the metal that's there, and whatever they stamp on it, however many dollars, but that is subject to change. So the M2 money supply, this is how much paper dollars they've been printing. If we go all the way back to here, 1959, you could just see it. It's a slow ramp. And then as you get to the 2000s, it starts really taking off, takes off again at a whole new level after the GFC. And then after 2020, guys, just went absolutely parabolic. If we zoom into where we are today in the past year, we saw that it peaked and it has been coming down. But that looks kind of severe on the Fred charts. If you go to 5 years and zoom out, you can see it's barely peaking off at all. If we look out max again, it's just this tiny little peak at the end. That tiny little peak is what you're seeing affect all the markets, housing markets, and everything right now, as it's just come off a little bit. Our problem is that we measure everything in US dollars. If you didn't measure it in US dollars and you based on purchasing power, you would have a clearer picture of where we are. If you wanted to say that my house is worth 200,000 loaves of Wonder Bread, okay, I think that would be a better measurement of what its value is. Measure it in bushels of corn, barrels of oil, ounces of gold. That would be a better measurement for you. Now, there's nothing that's going to stop you from the amount of currency that is being printed. The whole thing, though, is you could print as much money as you want as long as you are using the money for productive purposes, and that is the key. If you have to exchange your life for money, there is never going to be a time that you have enough to retire on, because over time, the inflation numbers are always higher than your salary increases. Inflation may go up 5% in a year, and you're going to get a 1% increase in salary, which means you have a 4% decline in the quality of your life. So you could use this to your advantage by saving as much as you can and investing as much as you can as fast as you can to take advantage of the dilution of the dollar. But even when it comes to one person, let's say one human, if I make 50,000 a year but spend 70,000 a year, I know that I'm going to get a credit card, I'm going to get something else. I've lived beyond my means. There's going to be a time that's going to bite me and I'm going to lose big. So then I say, okay, what about a family? Mom, dad, couple kids, everyone's working, but everybody makes 50,000 and everyone's spending 70,000. Would you be able to be in a better position? Everyone would go, absolutely not. If everyone's overspending, that's crazy. That wouldn't work. Then my question keeps going. What about 100 people? What about 1,000? What about 1,000,000? What about hundreds of millions of people, or 1 billion if we include Europe, Australia, and everybody, where everybody is spending double or triple what they actually make in a year? The point is not about how much money we create, but how wasteful we are and non-productive we are with that money. So live your life by a different standard. Invest as much as you can, as fast as you can, and increase your skill set so that we can get it into the markets and start making money with that inflation. As inflation takes off, your debt load never does. So our goal is to get as much debt as possible and never pay it back. Just keep on paying the interest on it for as long as possible. Anyway, you guys, I make these videos to try to help you guys. As you know, I'm a real estate broker and we're looking at property prices all the time. We operate out of Canada in Toronto. We act as advisors and consultants to people all over North America. And this is what I'm wondering is, where are all the real estate agents that were last spring telling everyone it's the best time to buy? Last summer when they said it's the best time to buy? What about when they said last fall, last Christmas, best time to buy? Don't worry, pent up demand all the time. Where are all these guys? These guys have been making videos nonstop, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, telling people it's the best time to buy, and prices keep falling. How many realtors and brokers, such as myself, have been telling people they got to be selling forever? Listen, you don't have to be an oracle to see the writing on the wall, to see that home prices are going to come down because interest rates go up. This is the exact same story as happens every single time for thousands of years. So it's very, very, very hard to predict what it's going to be next week, what's the interest rate's going to be next week, so on and so forth. But you can pick out the long-term trends. That's fairly easy, and that's what I want you to master next. Anyway, you guys, I really, really want to help you. If I've given you any value today whatsoever, please consider subscribing. And if you are interested in getting into my gold and silver courses, if you are interested in that, we have a full course that you can go into where we talk about what products to buy, times to buy gold and silver, what prices to buy, whether you're going to be buying bullions, when you're going to be buying coins, and how to stack yourself for success. We've been buying gold and silver for 25 years, and I want to help you guys do the exact same thing. You can click the link below for that, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you like that video, you might like this one and maybe something like that.